everybody. This is good stuff today. And, I'm tickled to be here. I just got through a meeting at the Hummer Lachlan plant and, just working on different things, ways to maybe, increase the jobs or surely find ways to ensure that those jobs are going to stay and be there, and that's good stuff. And now we're going to give away a grant. Now, we've got. Well, I think the number was $13 million that we had in grants, and then we tried to select the ones that we felt like that would perpetuate us the very, very best in the future. This is to do a study. So this isn't a water line or sewage project or whatever like that, but this is to do a study on the very thing that we need in West Virginia. We need lots of things in West Virginia, but one of the things we need really badly is to perpetuate our high-speed connectivity and broadband. So this is a study between Brooke and Hancock counties, and it's $125,000. It's not just chicken feed and everything, but it's just a start. That's all it really is. All this does is give us the information to be able to perpetuate us in the future and really, really get us going. So, I can't say more than I'm tickled to death to be here. It gives me a lot of pleasure to always come to the northern part of the state, because really and truly, everybody here has always been just terrific with me, and I just love you to death. And let me just say that, let me go into a couple more things real quick. I'm anything but a politician. I'm not here to obtain anything whatsoever from me. I never have been. I just want goodness for our people and our state. Now, we're right on the verge of having a real breakthrough in regard to the natural gas hub, in regard to petrochemical industry. We're really close, and you can almost touch it. And where that's going to be located, it has to land somewhere on the Ohio River, because you have to have that river access, because the stuff they bring in, whether it be building crackers or whatever it may be, is heavy duty stuff. West Virginia's better today, guys. It's really lots better. I mean, if you could have seen the books when I rolled in the door to where we are today, it's a different animal. Now, have we still got lots to do? Yeah, we still got tons to do. But I'm telling you, if you don't think that it's a heck of a lot better, then you're not thinking right. Now, so whether it be tourism, or it be our coal miners back to work, or it be the natural gas hub, or petrochemical or manufacturing, and we got tons to do. I mean, when it really boils right down to it, that plant that I just went by up there, Mountain State Carbon, at one time that was Wheeling Pit. We sold my companies forever ago, when my hair was brown. We sold them all of their low vol needs. We sold them 45,000 tons of coal a month, and absolutely so. And I see all over the place, I see somewhat of a revival, but a whole lot of desolation too, a whole lot of opportunity. These sites are really in demand, and so, and to give you just a little bit of insight as to what's going on the federal side, the president just signed an emergency order that gave them 180 days to do the studies as far as the petrochemicals end and a coal end as well. Now, the coal end probably won't impact, well, it can impact here, but the petrochemical end can really impact. And, if we were, I've said it over and over, but being in the sweet spot that we're in on the natural gas, you always want to put the hog confinement building where the cornfield is, and so we have a tremendous opportunity for manufacturing right up and down this corridor. And so, we just gotta get it across the finish line. And the other thing is that you got an ace in the hole is just this, is President Trump and I are great buddies, you all know that. And a lot of people talk like that all the time, but we truly are. I mean, we are real friends. And so, at the end of the day, he wants to help West Virginia, you know, and we want to help our bordering states as well, but we really, I'm awful selfish, we want to help West Virginia. So we got a lot of things cooking, a lot of opportunities, and a lot of diversification, and we got black numbers instead of red numbers, and we just want to keep on making them better and better. But I'll give this grant away, and then I'll be glad to answer your questions, and I'll answer them as best I can. But if I could have, I guess this is the HUD Community Development Block Grant, and the recipient is the Brooke County Commission, but it is a dual study on Hancock and Brooke County. Is that right? So if I could have any commissioners or somebody come, and we'll give us away, and everybody's welcome, but
well, these are the folks from BHJ who are doing all the legwork on this.
We'll all get our picture. Come on up. This says Community Development Block Grant. This is to certify that a grant of $125,000 has been awarded to Brooke County Commission for the Brooke and Hancock Regional Broadband Plan. Now I'm gonna step a little bit out of the way here. Hold on a second. Let me move some stuff. Okay, now who's Brooke County Commission? You characters? Okay, well then y'all hold that. And let's get in here. Y'all make me look good.
Alright, y'all ready? Here we go, right here. Okay.
Thank you. Perfect.
Okay, thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank y'all so much. Oh, look at this.
Knock Stacy over.
Okay, I'm moving my thing back. Oops, excuse me. And I'll answer your questions if you choose to ask something, and if I can answer, I'll do my best. And if you don't, yes, sir.
We were too late for that.
Okay.
Governor, you alluded to the gas and oil industry up here. And the coal industry is pretty big up here. I think Marshall County is one of the biggest producing counties in the state. So with that, the influx of large trucks that we have in this area is going to continually get worse. So you being the businessman that you are, I think that we need some type of plan here, whether we're bonding these roads or what we do to it. I'm not the businessman that should take care of this, but our roads are being damaged by these trucks, and I don't feel that we're holding them responsible. I'm not sure, why they can just suck water out of any creek that they want at any time. They may be able to do that, but some of the things that we're experiencing in this area with this boom, I feel needs attention paid to, to be paid to.
Sure.
The roads, I know the roads all over the state are horrible. The money that you've brought up right now to fix the roads is still very short from what the Blue Ribbon Commission has come up with. So we need a way, at least in the northern panhandle, to hold some of these companies that are extracting our minerals and making huge amounts of money to be held responsible for the roads that our citizens, our fire trucks, our school buses travel on. And I would appreciate any help that you can give us from that.
Well, let me comment, okay? First of all, I'm not the king. I've got to go through the Senate and the legislature. Okay, yeah, a Senate and the House. The other thing is you're exactly right. In my opinion, you're dead right. The damage to the roads by growth is substantial. And the people that are experiencing the growth could participate more. That's just all there is to it. Now, from the state standpoint, the growth supposedly is going to net us dollars, so the state should participate more. You know, that's how different people look at it, you know. And people will dive in the ditch and they'll say, well, no, hold on. We don't want to attack a company or whatever like that because we're getting the extra jobs and the extra benefit in the state. And so you get a food fight, you know. And at the end of the day, the roads are still pretty damn tough. Now, the other thing you mentioned, you know, was the dollars are short of the Blue Ribbon Commission, you know, dollars and everything, or study. You're right again. But the situation is just this, is, again, when you walk in the door and you're me, and somebody hands you something, and you say, okay, now hold on here. What have we done for 15 years? We've neglected everything. And that's what had happened and everything. And so now you have a situation to where you've got a war room of issues and lots of stuff that you got to take care of. We're not only doing the best we can do, we're doing pretty damn good and lots of stuff and everything. Can we do more? Absolutely. And you're right. And I would be supportive of exactly what you're saying. You know, from the standpoint that if we could have some happy medium in that we weren't punitive to the companies, we're still appreciative to the companies, but at the same time, we had participation from the companies, because you're exactly right. You know, these heavy trucks are damaging our roads faster than we can fix the roads. And you know, where we are today, I mean, guys, this is just all there is to it. You know, we had to pass a Roads to Prosperity program from the standpoint of we had to create some kind of jobs. We had to create an instant job. I mean, there's no other way. I mean, honest to goodness, we were flat dead. Dead. Now, so we created an instant job with the Roads to Prosperity thing, and it's good. It's good, and it's working. And the numbers that are coming in are black numbers instead of red numbers, but there's still a giant shortfall. And we're trying to glean off as much money as we can and still do all the Roads to Prosperity projects, not slow them down and still do them. But you're right. You know, it just seems, I mean, just look at it from the standpoint of logic. You know, if I tear your road up, it seems like I ought to try to at least be a part of a participant in trying to help you fix it back. You know, it's just as simple as that. But that's a difficult thing to get through the House and Senate at the same time.
Well, with all due respect, Governor, I have already voted to raise the severance tax. I would vote on it again. So you will have my support in the House. And if we don't look at the past and compare it to what's gonna happen in the future, the 15 years that we neglected everything, you know, I spent 40 years in the construction industry.
Right.
Is the years that we lost our steel industry,
Right.
and we lost our coal mining jobs. Those are the years that our tax revenue went down and we didn't have the money to fix anything.
Sure.
We couldn't give a piece of property away on Weirton Steel's property
That's right.
15 years ago. But today, we have something that somebody else wants. And I think if we would've done the right thing in the past, not throwing stones at anybody, if we would've put a little bit of money away, our roads wouldn't have deteriorated over this 15 years. And I think we need to look at that right now and deal with it for in the future. And that's with all due respect, sir.
No, you know, I don't take any level of disrespect from it in any way. I mean, I'm with you. I'm wholeheartedly with you. You know, it's a difficult issue. I mean, it's just plain that all there is to it. You know, in my first state of the state, what did I say about severance tax in the first state of the state? I said, tier the severance tax. The first state of the state, that's what I said, you know. Now, if we would have done that, there would right now be hundreds of millions of dollars coming into the state because we have a higher gas price and we have a higher coal price. And we didn't do it. And I tried every way under the sun because I felt like I knew what was going to happen on the coal side for sure. Now, you know, that's a battle. You know it's a battle. And so at the end of the day, we should have set money aside way back when. Then for 15 years or whatever it may be, or 10 years here, we bled like crazy and we didn't know where to turn, we wasn't anywhere to turn. And so all of a sudden the roads and everything else got worse and worse and worse and worse. And it's mighty difficult to just turn it around just like that. We're trying, we're really trying, and we're making real progress, but I hear you. I just don't know. I mean, you see, I really do pride myself in this. I'm not gonna give you a political answer, I'm just gonna tell you the truth. And I'm not gonna get caught in a situation where somebody says, well, you didn't tell me the truth, because I don't do that. I just don't do it. Difficult problem. We got any other questions?
Governor, Brooke County Commissioner Tim Menace, we meet as a county commission every week.
Right.
And one of the things that gets brought up every week to us, and I don't know if this is something you can help us with or not, is the litter that's on our roads. And the litter is just unbelievable. Now, we have people that work on Saturdays for community service, but it's a handful of people, and they try to go out and do what they can, but the litter on all of our roads is just unbelievable. Is there any way you can help us with some type of a program, whether through the regional jails or something like that? I know the prisoners used to go out and do that at one time. Is there any help you can give us on and picking up the litter and getting our roads in a little better shape?
Well, that's the great part about coming, you know, because you see, that's not been brought up to me before, you know, and I probably can do something to really help there. It's you know, I mean, at the end of the day, I go back to the frog in the pond. You know, if you're not proud of your own pond, you're not much of a frog. And so, if we don't get the litter picked up and everything, we want people to come, we want people to have jobs here and all that kind of stuff. You know, for crying out loud, there's got to be some program that we can come up with that'll really help in regard to that. And Rebecca will go to work on that.
Yeah, I'll get you my card.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, I appreciate you bringing it up to my attention and everything, because as much as I'm here, you can't be everywhere all the blooming time, and you just don't see it, you know, and you just miss something. But Tim, I'm glad you brought it up. That's good.
And one other thing.
Well, okay,
I'm a school
that
bus.
last one was really good, and the other one was really bad.
I'm a school bus driver.
Right.
And I've been driving school bus for 38 years. I retired and I substitute drive. And I'm sure you know that we have a terrible problem with school bus drivers right now. We can't get them.
Yeah, I know.
And there's some days here in Brooke County the kids don't go to school because there's no school bus drivers to drive them to school.
Yeah, that's.
And we're in the 21st century.
I know.
And it's just, I don't know if there's something we can do. I had a bill when I was in the legislature that if you drove school bus for more than 10 years, you got a pay grade higher, just as an incentive, because when you're hired as a bus driver, your pay is the same. You're a Class D bus operator.
Right.
And I had a bill in that if you had more than 10 years, you got paid a pay grade higher, just as an incentive to keep the bus drivers around. But I'm sure you hear that there's problems throughout the state with school
No
bus drivers
question.
and trying to get them.
Now, I knew this one. Yeah, I didn't know about the litter one, but I knew this one. Yeah, this is a real problem. And look, let me see. This is the thing that I can't. Oftentimes, I get really flustered with, and I just can't seem to get my arms around it, you know, with people, and that is, why is it we're too good to have our kids have to stay home because they don't have a bus driver? I mean, for crying out loud, why can't we solve these issues? You know, why can't we solve the fact that there's litter on the roads, or why can't we just solve the fact, you know, that, I mean, I keep going back to the same thing all the time. I mean, you know, we need always to be working together, whether it be Republicans, Democrats, whatever it may be, independents, you know. We don't need to be throwing rocks at one another nonstop and everything. It just, we got enough people on the outside throwing the rocks, but you know, I could see, and I could talk about just what, you know, what you just said, you know, you propose a bill that raises the pay grade for the bus driver, for the drivers that are driving their school buses, you know. The next thing you're gonna happen is you're gonna have somebody over here on the other side say, well, I'm not gonna go with that, because if you do that, then this people over here are gonna be mad at me because we did this over here, you know, and before you know it, logic just goes flying right out the window. At the end of the day, my approach is just this: from the standpoint of education, those bus drivers are involved in education. From the standpoint of education, we have to remember this. There are things within education that we can do, and the word, I don't like to use it because it kind of, you know, got everybody fired up, but reform, there's things we can do within the education arena to make education better. There's no question whatsoever about that. But on the other hand, we've got to just own up to the fact that we've got to pay these people more money. We've got to invest in education and put it as a real priority, because see, at the end of the day, you know, if you do two things, if you want to attract people to West Virginia, the very first thing is always education. And the second thing is always highways. It's always those two things. So at the end of the day, if we don't make a real live commitment to always invest in education and do everything we possibly can, and that's exactly what you're talking about there. We need to pay those people more money so we can attract those people, so we can keep them in their jobs. That's the great part about this wonderful, you know, situation in America that you have. You know, the more demand you have for a specific job, you've got to pay people more in that job to be able to have those people. You know, I need to comment 1 second on the coal side, because how prevalent coal is right here in your back door. And it's just this, is, you know, there's a bill, well, it's not a bill, but there's a proposal of a plan that I took to President Trump and sat right at his desk in the Oval Office, and I'm really proud of this, but the president can be sometimes going hither and there, and he's got it coming at him like a freight train all the time. And sometimes he's hard to dial in because he's a really smart guy and he's bouncing around all over the place, and he's just really hard to get focused. And in this particular meeting, what I was telling him was just this, is just think with me just a second, and I don't mean to bore you, but I've got to tell you a little bit of background. The eastern coal fields, what you have right here, the eastern coal fields are so important to America, it's unbelievable, because just think, what if the coal market goes back to where it was 2 or 3 years ago, and they keep closing, the deep mines flood, you know, the surface mines are reclaimed. What happens if the eastern coal fields go away? They just die and go away. And all of our electric grid in the east is dependent upon natural gas or western coal. What happens if that happens? I mean, let's just be real. All right, and then what happens, and I couldn't get the president dialed in, and finally I stood up and reached across the desk and grabbed him on the shoulders. I said, Donald, you've got to listen to me about this. And then I thought to myself, what am I doing? You know, and then after I went through that, I said, Donald. He said, okay, you got my attention, what do you want? And I said, Donald, look, if we awaken to a day when a terrorist could put a bomb at a gas line junction point, and the same day a bomb on a bridge coming from the west, you could actually have a crumbling of the entire electric grid in this country. Now, maybe 40 years from today, you won't need coal. I hope and pray you do. But just what if that happened in the middle of the winter? What would happen? And he just dialed in just like that. And I said, Donald, we have to come up with a Homeland Security incentive payment to our power companies for every ton of Northern App and Central App coal that they buy. Now, and that ensures the eastern coal fields. If you don't do that, you know, you could very well awaken to them being gone. Now, think about just what I just said. If today they were gone and that happened and it was the middle of the winter and you'd be losing hundreds of thousands of people would die. They'd die. You know, now, if that happened today and the eastern coal fields are going, you put coal in a truck and keep everything running. You just about. You know, if you don't have the ability to get the coal out of the ground and put it in a truck, you can't bring coal from Wyoming to Florida Power and Light and keep it running, or Duke Energy in Charlotte. Absolutely, it would be terrible. Rick Perry, in my office at Charleston, probably, I don't know, 10 days ago, Stephen Weinberg, who's the head of the fossil fuel division, he's a deputy secretary in the Department of Energy. He and I sat in my office and just discussed, Rick Perry is dead on board. And Donald is dead on board too. You know, the problem is the economists, you know, don't want to do something that is an incentive payment on a national scale. It's like an ethanol deal or cheese deal or whatever. It would ensure the viability of our mines and perpetuate significant growth in the amount of mines that miners that we would have working. They're on board. The reason the economists aren't on board is one thing: there's no threat today. Steam coal prices have gone up, so everybody's asleep at the switch. Everybody's happy, fat and happy right now. What happens? What happens? You know, if the prices drop, then what happens if I'm right? You know, so the president's got it. You know, that's just another step to something that we really need to try to do. You know, we're working. That's all I can tell you. You know, I think we need to surely pick up the trash and surely have school bus drivers and surely invest in education. In some way, somehow, we've got to get our roads in great shape and everything. And I fully get it. It doesn't matter what people did in the past. If they never did anything working on the roads, I'm your governor. I'm your governor now. I've somehow got to get it done. And we're working it. You know, so there's problems. There's problems. I need your support.
I got one more thing, Governor. I appreciate your stance on coal. I agree with you, and thank you for the forward thinking with the president. But we are in West Virginia, and I'd like to expand on what Tim said. We not only have students staying home because of the lack of school bus drivers, I've had many, many calls from my constituents that we have students sitting in the lunchroom because we don't have teachers. Brooke High School has 2 science teachers. One of them is off for the rest of the year, is not replaced with a capable science teacher. Next year, the only science teacher we're going to have is going to retire. So my point with that is, here in West Virginia, we have a special session coming up. And I really hope we can get some good work done and not waste a bunch of time. You know, we need to get some people at the table that have some skin in the game, not just the people that are at the table right now. Because I don't want to waste a bunch of time, again, with stuff that's not going to go anywhere. So I hope if you have any influence on the Senate President, that we can get down there and get done what's right for education in the state.
Well, let me tell you this, and there could be more, but you know, I'm gonna outline and guys, here's the thing I do. I mean, I've done it till I'm blue-green. If I tell you it's a 7 today, you don't have to check up on me. I'm not gonna change with the wind. It'll be a 7. But in regard to education, here's exactly what I think should be done. Exactly. I think we set aside the money for the 5%. We need to go on with that. I absolutely believe that, you know, the education savings accounts and the paycheck protection, things like that, were just stuff that made people mad. And we just don't need to go down that route. You know, whether there's merit or not merit, I'm not going to debate that. It just made people mad. What we need to do, though, I am an absolute advocate of some form of charter schools on a pilot basis. You know, if we had 2 or 3 pilot charter schools, I think There's nothing wrong with that. I absolutely believe that we should change the state school aid formula to be able to help the counties that are really out there hurting. I absolutely believe that we should have incentive pay for your science and math teachers and everything, because we've got to be able to attract those teachers, and maybe special ed as well. But we absolutely need additional counselors and nurses and psychologists in the schools. Now, if we don't go any deeper than that right there, that's just what we get done, and we put that to bed right now, then, let's just get our training wheels on the bike and put that to bed right now, and quit hacking up with one another about everything coming or going. That's what I think we need to do.
I think that'll go somewhere.
Well, that's
I think
exactly,
that'll go somewhere.
exactly what I've said to do over and over and over, and we keep just hacking on stuff. And now, listen, here's another aspect. We say, well, we've got all kinds of problems within education, and we needed to do reform. I mean, for God's sakes, 11. We've forgotten what we did. We got rid of the A through F grading thing in the schools. We got rid of all this ridiculous testing. We put all kinds of local control back. We just passed computer technology classes in all the high schools. We've done a bunch of stuff already. Now we just need to do more, and we can wrap this thing up. That's exactly what I am telling